Hello friends, welcome to the new session of the biology lecture. Today we are going to discuss about the state board lesson, the second lesson of the state board, the systematics of the living organisms. So in this lesson we are going to discuss about the classification system in detail. Although we have already studied the classification system in the first lesson, living world, right? So let us study about the systematics of the living organisms. So what is a systematics? We have already studied in our first session that the systematics is the study of the kinds and the diversity of organism. Systematics is the branch of biology that deals with the taxonomy as well as deals with the classification. So these two terms, taxonomy and systematics, are simultaneously used when we consider the classification of the organism, right? So the systematics is the study of the kinds of organism and the diversity of organism. In the first lesson we have studied that there are around 17 to 18 lakh of different plant and animals or the living organisms which are known to us. To study these different type of organisms, it is necessary to classify them, and for the classification purpose we use the taxonomy as well as the systematics. So systematics studies the different kind of organism and their diversity means the number of the species as well as the number of individuals in the species. So the study of the number of species as well as their number in each species means the individuals which are present in each species is studied in the systematics, right? So systematics is the study of the kinds of organism as well as the diversity of organisms. Taxonomy also deals with the classification of organisms. So taxonomy also deals with the kinds and the diversity of the organisms, but there is a difference between the systematics and the taxonomy. Systematics not only considers the classification of the organism, but it also compares the organisms and study their evolutionary relationship. So the evolutionary relationship between the organisms is also studied in the systematics, while in the taxonomy evolutionary relationship is not studied. Only the comparative study of the organisms can be done in the taxonomy, but the evolutionary studies or the evolutionary relationship are not studied in the taxonomy. So the taxonomy it deals with only the classification of the organism, while the systematics it deals with their comparative and the evolutionary relationship. The plant systematics was proposed by the George Simpson in 1961. So George Simpson proposed the plant systematics as the study of the kinds and the diversity of organisms and their comparative and the evolutionary relationship. Taxonomy is dealing with the classification of the organism, means it is also dealing with the classification. We have already studied about the definition of the taxonomy, that taxonomy is the branch of biology that deals with the collection of organisms, their identification, description, nomenclature and then classification. So the taxonomy deals with the collection of organism, identification of organism, their description, nomenclature and the classification. While the taxonomy word, this word has arisen from the two different words. The first word is taxis, meaning of the taxis is the arrangement, and the normus means law or rules. So the arrangement of organisms according to the rules or according to the law is called as the taxonomy. And for the taxonomic purpose, the law is made for the plants and animals by the ICBN and ICZN. This already we have studied. ICBN is International Code for the Botanical Nomenclature and ICZN is the code for the zoological nomenclature, right? And this term taxonomy was proposed by the A.P. de Candolle. This term was proposed by the A.P. de Candolle. Please remember all the name of the scientist also. So let us study about the methods of classification. So we have already studied how the classification of organisms is done. So in the NCERT living world, means NCERT first lesson, the classification is also included, right? But in the board pattern, this classification is included in the second lesson. So this second lesson is including the classification. So let us study about the methods of classification. In our first lesson, we have studied that the classification can be done and the organisms can be grouped into the species or genus, or into the family, or into the order. Order is also called as cohort, class, or into the phylum or the division, or into the kingdom, right? So in this way we have studied that the taxonomic hierarchy can be made, means the ascending or the descending orders of the groups can be made, and these groups are called as the taxonomic hierarchy. So let us study about the methods of classification. So when we perform the classification, for the classification purpose, we study the similarities and the dissimilarities, that the similarities and the differences between the organisms. If the organisms are similar, then they are placed in one group. If they are different, then they are placed in the two different groups. So based on the similarities and differences, the classification is done, or the classification is made. So for the purpose of the classification, various criterias can be used. So these criterias are also considered as the methods of the classification, right? So what are the different methods of classification? So let us first study about the artificial system of classification. So what is the artificial system of classification? Artificial system of classification is based on the easily observable characteristics, and these are based on the non-evolutionary characteristics. So what are the easily observable characteristics? The characteristics which are easily observable are generally the phenotypic characteristics. Phenotypic characteristics means the morphological characteristics. So when the classification system is based on the morphological characteristics of the organism, it is called as the artificial system of classification. This artificial system of classification include the morphological characteristics like the vegetative characteristics of the plant, like the type of leaf or the shape of the leaf, the type of fruit, or the number of androecium, number of gynoecium, number of petals, number of sepals present in the flower, or the type of flower. All these are the different vegetative and the sexual characteristics based on what the classification is done, right? So such system of classification was first used by the Carolus Linnaeus. So the Linnaeus system of the classification is the example, or it is the perfect example of the artificial system of classification. So in the NEET exam, the question can be asked, the artificial system of classification is based on. So you can select the question answer that is related to the morphological characteristics or the vegetative characteristics of the plant, like the habit of the plant, color of the flower, then shape of the leaf, or the type of the leaf, or the form of the organism. So based on these habit, color, form, or the vegetative characteristics, the classification is done. Then it is called as artificial system of classification. So this artificial system of classification is based only on the easily observable characteristics, and this is not based on the evolutionary characteristics. So it is not considering the evolutionary characteristics of the organism or the evolutionary relationship of the organism. It is only based on the easily observable characteristic, mostly the phenotypic or the morphological characteristics. And the example of the artificial system of classification is the Linnaeus system of classification, right? Next is the natural system of classification. Next method of classification is called as the natural system of classification. In the natural system of classification, we consider the natural relationship between the different plants or animals. So when the classification is based on the natural affinities of the organism, so natural relationship between the organisms are studied. It means that some organisms, like some plants, they are naturally showing the relationship with each other. Like for example, in the genus Solanum, various plant species are present, like Solanum tuberosum, Solanum nigrum, and Solanum melongena. So this tuberosum, nigrum, melongena, these are showing the natural affinities in between them. So based on these natural affinities, when the classification is done, then it is called as the natural system of classification. So the tuberosum, nigrum and melongena, these on the basis of their natural affinities are placed into the genus Solanum, right? So this natural system of classification was proposed by the Bentham and Hooker. So the Bentham and Hooker system of classification is the example of the natural system of the classification. So these are the two systems, the artificial system. Second is the natural system. Natural system is based on the natural relationship or the natural affinities between the organisms. Next is the phylogenetic system of the classification. So phylogenetic system of the classification is based on the phylogenetic relationship or the evolutionary relationship. So it is based on the common evolutionary descent. So common evolutionary descent means the common ancestor of the organism. From one common ancestor all the new species are arised, right? So there is one common ancestor, and from one common ancestor the new species are formed, and these new species are related to each other because they have the common ancestor, or the characteristics of the common ancestor are also imparted in the newly formed species. So these species which are formed from the common evolutionary ancestor or the common ancestor can be considered as a single group, and they are placed in one group, and they are called, or they are said to be, evolutionary related organisms. So when the classification is done on the basis of the evolutionary relationship of the organism, it is called as the phylogenetic system of classification. So example of the phylogenetic system of classification is Engler and Pranttl's system of classification. So please remember all these names. Engler and Pranttl's system of classification is called as the phylogenetic system of classification. Bentham and Hooker's system of classification is called as natural system of classification, and Linus system of classification is called as the artificial system of classification, right? Next we have to study about the chemotaxonomy, when the classification is based on the chemical constituents of the organism. So when the classification is done on the basis of the chemical constituent which is present in the plant or animal, or when it is based on the structure of the chemical constituent of the plant or the animal, that in the organism, right? So when the different type of organisms, they have the similar chemical constituent in them, and based on that the classification is done, then it is called as the chemotaxonomy, right? So chemotaxonomy is based on the chemical constituents of the organism. The example of the chemotaxonomy can be considered as the cell wall composition of the bacteria, archaea as well as the eukarya. Means if you will observe the cell wall composition of the bacteria have the cell wall that is made up of the peptidoglycan. Please watch this spelling. Bacteria have the cell wall made up of the peptidoglycan, right? While bacteria are the normal bacteria. Bacteria are generally used for the eubacteria. Eubacteria are called as a true bacteria, which are surrounding us, right? Which are present in our body, which are present on our body, which are surrounding us. Means the at normal temperature, normal pH, the bacteria which are living are called as the eubacteria, or simply we call them as bacteria, while the archaebacteria are called as the extremophiles, because these archaebacteria are living in the extreme conditions, so they are called as the extremophiles, right? So these extremophiles or the archaebacteria, they do not have the true peptidoglycan in them. These archaebacteria have the cell wall made up of the pseudopeptidoglycan, right? So they don't have the true peptidoglycan like bacteria, they have the pseudopeptidoglycan. So please observe the spelling. So back in archaebacteria the pseudopeptidoglycan is present, and in eukaryotes the cell wall, for example in the plants the cell wall is present, and in the plant the cell wall is made up of the cellulose. Or in fungi are also eukaryotes. In the fungi the cell wall is present, and the cell wall is made up of the chitin. So all these are the different composition of the cell wall. When based on these criteria the classification is done. For example, kingdom Monera include the all bacteria, right? All bacteria are included in kingdom Monera, but the eubacteria means the true bacteria, they are all grouped in this eubacteria group based on the presence of the peptidoglycan cell wall in them. All archaea, they have the pseudopeptidoglycan in them. All fungi, they have the chitin in them, in their cell wall, right? All eukaryotic plants, they have the cellulose in their cell wall. In this way the classification is done. So when based on this, when the classification is done on the basis of the chemical constituent, it is called as the chemotaxonomy. Next method of classification is the numerical taxonomy. In the numerical taxonomy, at a time various characteristics are considered, means the various easily observable characteristics are considered at a time in the numerical taxonomy. Each characteristic is given equal weightage and data is collected for each characteristic. This data is processed by using the computers, means by using the softwares on the computers. The data is processed, each characteristic is given equal weightage, and at a time various characteristics, means many easily observable characteristics are considered. So as equal weightage is given to the each characteristics, after processing the data we get the information about the similar characteristics and dissimilar characteristics, or we can obtain the information about the percentage of the similarity and the percentage of dissimilarity. So based on this, when the classification is done, it is called as the numerical taxonomy. So the numerical taxonomy is considering the quantification of the characters. So meaning of the quantification of characters means considering the many characteristics at a time. We have studied that artificial system of classification considers only the morphological or the easily observable characteristics like the vegetative characteristics, while the phylogenetic system of classification considers only the evolutionary relationship. Natural system of classification considers the natural affinities between the organisms. But here in the numerical taxonomy, all these different characteristics are considered at a time, and the data is collected and the data is processed. So the quantification of the characteristics occurs in the numerical taxonomy. So based on these characteristics, an algorithm is developed for the classification purpose. So what is an algorithm? Algorithm is the step-by-step process. Algorithm is the step-by-step process. So by using the software, step-by-step classification is done by using the algorithms. Algorithms are the softwares which are used for the classification of the organism, right? So numeric algorithm like the cluster analysis is used. So here the cluster analysis, at a time various characteristics are considered and the data is processed, and based on the similarities and dissimilarities the organism is classified. So at a time various characteristics are considered in the numerical taxonomy. This system was proposed by the Sokal and Smith in 1963. So Sokal and Smith proposed this numerical taxonomy system in 1963. So the numerical taxonomy considers various characteristics at a time. Next type of the classification is the cladogram. So cladogram is used to represent the relationship between the different organisms by using the tree-like diagram. So cladogram is also called as a family tree, right? So it is representing the different organisms in a branching pattern, right? So it is a cladogram is also called as a family tree. It represents the relationship between the different organisms in a branching pattern. But this cladogram is not showing the evolutionary tree. Please remember, cladogram looks like an evolutionary tree, but it is not showing the relationship like the evolutionary tree. In the evolutionary tree or in the phylogenetic tree, the information is provided in such a way that the relationship between the organisms is given, as well as their distance, means the distance between the two organisms, means their evolutionary distance is also considered in the evolutionary tree. But in the cladogram, only the representation of the different organism, their representation of only the relationship of the between the organisms is provided by the cladogram. So cladogram represents the relationship between the different organisms. Their comparison is also given in the cladogram. So here I have given one example of the cladogram. So here I have shown the human cladogram. This example is not given in your book. In your book they have told that you can refer to the 3-domain system of classifications cladogram that is given in the on the page number 1st. So please pay attention. We will study this example of the cladogram. Here I have drawn the structure or the cladogram or the family tree of the human. So here we have our common ancestor. यहाँ पर अपना this is a common ancestor, right? So from this common ancestor arised the old world monkeys. Old world monkeys arised from this, right? From the same common ancestor arise the gibbons. Gibbons are the apes. Old world monkeys are not called as the apes. These are the monkeys, right? So this is a common ancestor. From the common ancestor arised the old world monkeys, or simply we call them as monkeys. Then arised the apes like gibbons. From this common ancestor, the gibbons and the orangutans were arised. Orangutans are also the apes. From this common ancestor, orangutans arised, as well as the gorillas were also arised. From this common ancestor, again the humans and the chimpanzees were arised. So here, by observing this cladogram, you can say that the longest ancestor has formed a tree or the branch like pattern, right? So this branch like pattern is showing that humans are more related to the chimpanzees than they are related to the gorillas, right? So these gibbons to the humans, these all are considered as the apes. From gibbons to the humans, all are considered as the apes. So these orangutans, gorilla, chimpanzee are considered as the big apes. These are called as the big apes, right? So in this way, this cladogram is representing the relationship between the humans and gorillas, chimpanzees, as well as gibbons and the old world monkeys, right? So from a common ancestor, this branching like pattern has arisen, and this branching like pattern is showing the relationship between the human and the other apes. So let us study about the phylogeny. So already we have studied about the phylogenetic system of classification. In the phylogenetic system of classification, we consider the evolutionary relationship between the organism, and this evolutionary relationship of the organism are used for the classification purpose. The famous example we can consider about the phylogenetic system or the evolutionary relationship is considered for the classification purpose is the Carl Woese three-domain system of classification. In Carl Woese three-domain system of classification, the classification was based on the sequencing of the ribosomal RNA. You know about the RNAs. RNAs are means non-genetic RNAs are of three types: mRNA, which is called as messenger RNA, rRNA is called as a ribosomal RNA, and tRNA is called as a transfer RNA. Out of this, ribosomal RNA, which is called as rRNA, is responsible for the formation of the ribosomes, and these rRNA, they are considered as the tools for the evolution of the organism. Means these rRNAs, which are called as a ribosomal RNA, can be used as a tools for discovering the evolution within the different type of organisms. So Carl Woese used the rRNA sequencing method. In this method, the different organisms rRNA is sequenced and compared. So rRNA from the different organisms were collected and they are sequenced, and their sequence was compared to each other, and based on this the classification was done. So when the classification was done based on the rRNA sequencing, this can be considered as the phylogenetic system of the classification. So in the Carl Woese three-domain system of classification, Carl Woese classified the organisms into the as first is bacteria, then archaea, archaeae, archaea, and third they have classified them as eukarya. So Carl Woese system of classification classifies the organism into the three domain. Domain is the group that is larger than the kingdom. So what is a group? That group is called as a domain. Domain is a larger group than the kingdom. So here Carl Woese has classified the organisms into the three domain. The first domain is the bacteria, second domain is the archaea, and third domain is the eukarya. Bacteria include the prokaryotic eubacteria. Archaea include the prokaryotic extremophiles. These are also the bacteria. Archaea are also bacteria, but these are more related, means evolutionary they are more related to the eukaryotes than the bacteria, right? So these archaea are separated from the bacteria in the 3-domain system of classification, and third group include the eukaryotic organisms, so it is called as the eukarya, right? So this third domain, which is called as the eukarya include all the eukaryotes, right? So this eukarya include all the eukaryotes, and these eukaryotes, actually you should show it like this, right? So this is bacteria, this is archaea, and third here you should show here eukaryotes. So here I have written eukaryotes, so here you should write eukaryotes. So eukaryotes include all the plants, means kingdom Plantae, kingdom Animalia, kingdom Fungi, and kingdom Protista. So all these 4 kingdoms are included in the domain eukarya. Bacteria include all the eubacteria, archaea include archaebacteria, and these third domain eukarya include the 4 kingdoms like Plantae, Animalia, Fungi, and Protista. So this 3-domain system of classification is also called as 6-kingdom system of classification. So the 3-domain or the 6-kingdom system of classification is representing the phylogenetic system of classification. Second example of the phylogenetic system of classification can be considered about the Whittaker's 5-kingdom system of classification. In the Whittaker's 5-kingdom system of classification, the organisms are classified into the 5 kingdoms. These 5 kingdoms are Monera. Monera include all the bacteria. Second, Protista. Protista include all unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Fungi include multicellular eukaryotic organisms which are heterotrophic. Plantae include multicellular eukaryotic autotrophic organisms, and Animalia also include the multicellular eukaryotic heterotrophic organisms, right? So in this way, Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia, these are representing Whittaker's 5-kingdom system of classification. So we are going to discuss both of these systems of classification in this lecture, means next lectures we are going to discuss all these systems of classification. So phylogenetic system of classification, we can consider the example of the 3-domain system of classification as the phylogenetic system of classification. Next is the DNA barcoding method. DNA barcoding method is a new method of the identification of the organism. So this can also be used for the classification of newly discovered organism, or the organisms whose number is decreased, means who are endangered, means the organisms whose number is drastically reduced nowadays. Such organisms are called as endangered organism. To find such endangered organisms or the species, DNA barcoding can be used. So what is a DNA barcoding? DNA barcoding is a method, it is a new method for identification of any species based on their DNA sequence. Just now I have told you about the sequencing of the RNA. So this 3-domain system of classification was based on the sequencing of the RNA, but sequencing of the DNA can be used for the identification of any species. So we can use the DNA sequencing method for identification of any species. So it is used as DNA barcoding. So what is a barcode? Generally we use barcode specifically for that product. So in this way, DNA can be used as a barcode for identification of any species, any particular species, right? So that DNA barcode can be used as the tool for the identification of the particular species. Getting this? So for this purpose, the DNA barcoding can be used. So how this DNA barcoding is done? For the purpose of the DNA barcoding, we first have to collect that organism. We first collect the different type of organisms. We isolate DNA from these different organisms. We sequence their DNA, and this information of the sequencing of the DNA is kept in the softwares. This information is placed, or it is kept in the softwares. Whenever any new organism is discovered, that time the DNA from that organism is also isolated, and that DNA is compared with the existing DNAs or existing information of the barcodes of the different type of species. So when we compare the DNAs of the different species with the newly discovered species or any newly found organism, we can compare the information by using the computers, and by using this information we can identify that organism. Getting this? So already we have the information of the barcodes, means information of the sequences of the DNAs of the organisms, and then when we discover a new organism, we also isolate the DNA from that organism, and that sequencing is done and that information is placed in the software, so we can get a comparative information about the organism, and we can also identify that particular organism. So DNA barcoding is used for the identification of any organism. So what are the applications of DNA barcoding? So the various applications have been put forth here. So we can preserve or protect the endangered species. Endangered species are the species whose number is drastically reduced. Very few number of organisms are present in the nature. So if we have to protect these organisms, we first have to immediately detect these organisms. So we isolate DNA from that found organisms, we collect the information of their DNA, and that can be used for the rapid identification of the endangered plants or endangered animals or any other organism, right? So it is also used for the preservation of the natural resources. Various natural resources are also preserved, like some plants, some medicinal plants can be preserved by using the DNA barcoding method. Next, it is used for the pest control. DNA barcoding can also be used for the identification of the pest. DNA barcoding can also be used for the identification of the pest. So by rapidly identifying the disease causing pest on the agricultural land, we can use the treatment, or we can use the pesticides that specifically target that pest and kills that pest, right? So it can be used for the pest control in the agricultural lands. Next is, it is used for the identification of the disease causing vectors. In the same way, we can use this DNA barcoding method for identification of the disease causing organisms. Next is the authentication of the medicinal plants and the medicinal resources. So medicinal resources and the medicinal plants can also be identified by using the DNA barcoding methods. So the DNA barcoding can be used for the identification of the organism, and this can also be used as the method of the classification, as we can classify the organism based on their DNA sequences.